So we're going to learn how to factor trinomials today. First, I put two just completed factoring examples for trinomials. So trinomials, when you factor them, you're going to get two binomials when you're done. So what we're doing is an example called guess and check. You're going to guess stuff and you're going to check your answer. Right? Ever heard that? Okay. What you're going to do is you're going to first start by opening two parentheses. And then you're going to look here and you're going to say, what multiplies together to give you x squared? X and x. So that's how they got those x's. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to look at the last term. You're going to say, what multiplies together to give me negative 20? It could be negative 4, positive 5. It could be 4 and negative 5. It could be negative 2 and positive 10. It could be 2 and negative 10. It could be negative 1 and positive 20, or 1 and negative 20. Like there's 6 different options. But we also have to think when we actually go and FOIL this back together, when we do our outer and our inside terms, you aren't going to know how to do this if you talk the whole time I'm doing it. When you go to FOIL it back together, the outside and the inside terms add together to give us the middle term. So when we go to FOIL this back together, they chose a negative 2 and a positive 10. When we do this multiply back together, we get a negative 2x. Outside, we get a positive 10x. When we add those together, we get a positive 8x. So it is kind of guessing and checking, but at the same time, you're like looking at the numbers and saying, what do I multiply together to give me the first and last spot? And then how can I add those together to give me the middle spot? There's two main things that you really need to see in these examples. One is the signs. If this last sign, and this is what it's talking about down here, if this last sign is negative, you're going to have one positive and one negative. If this last sign is positive, you're either going to have two positives or two negatives. So if this last sign is positive, it means in your factored version, we have the same signs. If this last number is negative, in your factored answer, you're going to have different signs. That's going to help you when you're guessing and checking. So this little flow chart right here that's what it's talking about. But I'm just going to keep talking about that. So if you need to read this and to remember what we were saying, great. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep saying it over and over again, and you'll hear me say it 18 times or however I'm going to do it. Okay, so this is guess and check factoring. First thing is there is a trinomial. You always look for greatest common factor. Is there a greatest common factor? No. Okay, so then I can move on. Now we have two parentheses. Guess and check, always going to be two parentheses. We look at the very first term. Now, not even doing that yet. Let's look at the signs. The second sign tells us if in the factored version, if they're the same or if they're different. If the second sign is positive, what did I tell you about the signs? Let me write up here. Same sign. Now we look at this first sign. It's going to tell me what sign the same sign is. They're both going to be positive. Then what multiplies together to give me x squared? X times x. Is there any other option? What multiplies together to give me 12?
3, 4, 6.
1, 12, 2, 6, 3, 4. Is that it? Okay. Well, when we go to put those in, we have to check by multiplying my inner two and my outer two back together. And when I do that, they have to add up to equal 8x. Can you kind of think ahead? 2 and 6. Let's check. 2 times x is 2x. 6 times x is 6x. Does that add up to equal 8x? So then we have it factored correctly. Yay.
So you're basically looking at the option, the factors that are
Mhm.
then one of those.
The one in the middle.
Yeah.
Yep. So now, I gave you another one that has like the same numbers. What's different about this one? So this one goes negative, positive. So we look right here and we say this is positive. If the last term is positive, what does that tell me about the signs? Same sign. We look at the first one. What sign are both of them? They're both B minus. Then we say x squared, that has to be x and x. There's no other option. But 12 could be 1 and 2, 2 and 6.
1 and 12.
That's what I meant. And 3 and 4. I don't know. I even said 2. I don't know what I was thinking. All right, but it has to add up. So once we put it in there, it has to add up to equal negative 8x. So what do you think we should put in? A minus 2 and a minus 6. So when I multiply this back together, I get negative 2x and negative 6x. That works. So we have it factored. So then question C. I keep forgetting to say this. Is there a greatest common factor? No. We're going to look at our signs. And this time, the last sign is negative. That automatically means we have one of each sign. One of them to be positive, one of them to be negative. That's the only way we can get a minus sign for that last term. What's the first one have to be? No. I'm sorry, the first spot. X times X. Now the last one is a 20 this time. It ends with a minus 8 in the middle, but you have to look at the minus 20. So that could be 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Then when we multiply it back together, it has to equal a minus 8. So somebody yelled out 2 and 10. That's definitely what we're going to be using. But which one's going to be negative? How do you know that?
Just 2 minus 10 is equal to 8 are negative. This 10 is like bigger than this.
Right, because the 8 is negative, so the bigger number has to be negative. So if I add those back up, we're going to get negative 8x. That's how I know I did it right. That's the check part of guess and check. Question D, is there a greatest common factor? I look at my signs. They've got minus, minus. So this means different signs. Negative means different signs. I've got 12. So 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. It's got to be x and x. Now what do I do? Okay, so which one's going to be negative?
6.
Yeah?
Yes. Shouldn't they both?
If I,
No, wait.
let's check it. Let's wheel it back together and check it. The first one, first x is x squared. This 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. But let's check the inside-outside. 2x minus 6x. Does that give me negative 8x? It does not. So this is not factored correctly. Can I make them both minuses? Why not? Well, if they were the same, whatever numbers, like if I put 2 and 6 in here, what would happen when I multiply my last terms together to get negative 12? It would be positive 12, so that can't happen. What's going on? Am I playing tricks on you? What happens if it didn't work? No, we're not solving. So you're not going to say no solution. You would say prime. And we'll just we'll write this for notes. You can just say prime, but it's prime because it's not factorable. Because nothing factors. Yep, I gave you a trick. Sorry. That's why we guess and check. Because sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I get this, it's really easy, but then they don't check. You gotta be aware of that. Alright. Can you try 1 and 2? And then we will do number 3 together. You try 1 and 2. So this one's not done all the way, by the way. And same with 4. If you look on the front, there's an example like those. No. Now do your check. Not only are we guessing, but we are also checking. I don't see a lot of checks. It might be in your head, but some of you aren't checking. Just try 1 and 2. Some people are working for their head to check these. They're not going to work. So try to get the pencil to have to raise the body. You might want to circle. See how many? I'm just trying to read that number. I'm good now. It took me a second. If you did 1 and 2 and you're like, this is easy, you can try 3, but don't just fly through it because we're going to check answers. Much better. Is there a GCF for number 1? So then we say, what signs do we need? This one is negative, which means different signs. It doesn't matter which is which, okay? It doesn't matter if you put the plus first or the minus first. It does not matter. It has to be M and M. I saw a lot of you had that. And then as I walked around the room, I see a lot of you saying 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. When we do multiply this back together, it has to equal a negative 1m. So out of these 3 options, what's the only thing that's going to give you a negative 1? The 4 and 5, they're 1 apart. So which one of those needs to be negative? The bigger number to give me a negative answer. So I can check. Negative 5m, positive 4m, that will add to give me negative 1m. And I forgot to say this earlier, but is this a difference of squares so we can keep going? How about m plus 4? Is that a difference of squares? No. Number 2, this is a plus sign. So what does that tell me about my signs? They're going to be the same, and what sign are they? This is going to be x and x. 36, we've got 1 and 36. 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. Is that it? Okay. But when we multiply the outside and inside back together, we have to equal negative 13. What combination over here is going to give us a 13? 4 and 9. When we check it, this is going to be minus 4x. That will be minus 9x, and that does work. Is this a difference of squares? Why not? Not squared. Difference of squares? Yeah. Number 3. What do we do first? Is there a GCF? There is. We take out that 2. What's left is a trinomial. So we're going to break it down to 2 binomials. This last sign is a minus. What does that tell me? Different signs. X squared comes first, so that's easy, x and x. But how do I make minus 15? 5 and 3. So we're going to check that. This is going to be plus 5x. That'll be minus 3x. Does that add together to give us a positive 2x? So then we say, yep. Is there a difference of squares? See, I automatically think about the difference of squares as I'm writing it, so I keep forgetting to say it to you, but it's in my head every time. You always want to check. Number 4. Plus plus. Great. Is there a GCF? No. Okay. Plus plus. XX. What makes 25? 5 and 5. Does that check to make 10x in the middle? 5 and x, 5 and x doesn't make 10x? Okay. This is not the final answer. What? So when we have multiple of the same factors, we do combine them back and we write squared or however many there are. Okay? So that I would take off if you didn't combine it back. So this is exactly the opposite of what we were doing when we were multiplying. So when you multiply this one, you first split it apart and then you multiply it. So we're just going all the way back. Can you try number 5? Yeah. If you haven't done it yet. You got number 5, start looking at 6. I took 5. A lot of you reached for your calculator for that one. So number 5, y1 is 7, quantity squared. Number 6, this one's a teeny bit different than the ones we were just doing. Teeny bit. Is there a GCF? Nope. It's trinomial, so let's do 2 trinomials. I'm going to look at my signs, and that's a plus, which means same sign, which is negative. It's definitely going to be x and x to get x squared in the beginning. But how do we get minus 16 and a y squared? Think about them separately. Bless you. How do I get a y squared there? Yeah, so this is going to have a number with y. I just got to figure out what that number is. So 16 could be 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. Which one should I use to make a 10 in the middle? Okay. Now we will check it just in case. So here, when I multiply together 2 times y times x, got negative. Negative 2, and I just write xy because I put them in alphabetical order. And on the outside, negative 8, xy. They're both common, or they're both like terms, xy, so we have negative 10, xy. That one does work. Can you try 7? See if you're getting it? Oh my gosh, I am so proud of you guys. I'm walking around and a lot of you remembered what is the very first step of factoring always? Greatest common factor. So there is a 2 that can come out. Then the trinomial itself becomes 2 parentheses. That 2 just comes down. They're going to be same sign. They're both plus. X and X. What multiplies together to give us 16? But we have to add in the middle to give us 10. 2 and 8. And do we have perfect no difference of squares, I mean? All right, some of you were looking at this one and weren't quite sure what to do. So let's go over number 8. Is there a greatest common factor? There's not. Signs? Both the same, they're both positive. Now when I look at this 2x squared, there's only one option I have to multiply together to give me 2x squared. 2x times x. That's it. 2x times by x. That's the only thing I can multiply together to give me 2x squared. Hello? Okay. Watch the rest of this video. All right. So now the next question is, what do you multiply together to give you 3? This is pretty easy. We really don't have that many options, except do I put the 1 here and the 3 here, or do I put the 3 here and the 1 here? That's the guess and check part. So I'm going to lightly write 1 and 3. I'm lightly writing 1 and 3. Then I'm going to check. So I'm going to do my outside and my inside. And I'm going to say 1 times x is 1x. Outside 2x times 3 is 6x. Will those add up to give me 5x? Yeah. So, whoops. Let me check something else. What if I put the 3 and then the 1? 3 times x is 3x. 2x times 1 is 2x. Will those add up to give me 5x? So then if they work, then I've done it correctly. There's no difference of squares because it's addition. We're done. So you have to guess where to put the 3 and the 1 and then check to make sure you put it in the right spot. Let's try number 9. Is there a greatest common factor? Okay. The signs. N and the plus sign. What's that mean? Same sign. Minus, minus. Now, when I look at my 10x squared, I know my options for 10 is 1 and 10 and 2 and 5. But when I look at my 3 at the end, I only have the option of 1 and 3. Both of them are going to be minus signs, so it really doesn't matter where I put the 1 or the 3, because they're both going to be minus, and I don't know what's in the front part yet. So I'm going to guess and check what goes in these spots. When I do that, I have to multiply it back together and get negative 17x. So do you think I'm going to use 1 and 10 or 2 and 5? Just guess. We're guessing. 1 and 10? Or 2 and 5? Okay, I can't hear you. Somebody else look it up. All right, here's a lot of 2 and 5. So I'm going to put 2x and 5x here. I don't know if they're in the right spot. So now I'm going to multiply together. 1 times 5x, that's going to give me negative 5x. Multiply 2x times negative 3, that's going to give me negative 6x. Does that add to be negative 17?
Nope.
Well, I did not pick the right ones. So I will erase and try again. What if I did 5x, then 2x? That will be a minus 2x in the middle. That'll be a minus 15x. Does that add up to be negative 17x? All right. Now, if you had chosen 1 and 10, you might have some more checking to do. So you might look out and like choose the thing like that fits right away, or you might have more work with the checking part. I want you to try the last one. Let's see if you can do it. Yeah, fast you can do it. I'll get it, one of my special pens out. Which one? No, it's not. Oh, yes, this one. If you get a smile face, go grab your worksheet. If you didn't get a smile face, if I walked past you, figure out what you did wrong. Second time around, let's see. Here's square. Is 9 plus 4, 12? Yeah, that's actually 15. Almost. Almost. Okay. No, you did wrong now? Not quite. No? If you multiply them back together, you're going to equal it. But we're trying to unmultiply that. There's something else. You were on the right track here. It's not quite. That's all right. I'll go over it. See who else can come up with it first. I already walked past that. No. Here. This. Bang. Square. Bang. Okay. So you were on the right track. Just have another step. Oh. Okay, that works. What time's what next time? 3 and 3 or 1 and 9? Put them in there and start checking your answer. Oh, I'm still recording this. I'm going to go over it. A lot of you were on the right track, you just didn't do the last step. So a lot of you totally got 2x plus 3, like you got that. But remember, if they're exactly the same, you have one more step to do. To say 2x plus 3 squared. Okay, so your assignment is a worksheet, and gosh, you got lots of time to work on it. Should not take you too long, but there might be a few questions on. So I'm here. You got questions?